Welcome to News and Brews Sports Biz, our to-the-point video and podcast series where we will be discussing emerging issues related to the business of college sports. I'm your host, Katie Davis, and I'm here with my partner, Ken Kurtzel. You're in for a treat today. Our guest is Chris Iacoi, Senior Associate AD and CFO of UCLA. Go Bruins. Hey, Chris.
Hi, everybody. How are we doing today?
Thanks for joining us. Why don't we start by you telling us just a little bit about your history in college athletics and what your role is at UCLA?
Sure. Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me. As you mentioned, Chris Iacoi, Senior Associate Athletic Director at UCLA. I'm in my 7th year at UCLA. Prior to this role, I was at Boston College as Assistant AD for Business Operations, where I had been for probably about 13 years. Went to school there at BC, had a great experience, grew up in Rhode Island. So I was an East Coast guy, transplanted out here on the West Coast for the last couple of years, and certainly enjoying our time, especially this time of year, and have enjoyed being at UCLA without a doubt.
Great. Well, I know it hasn't been all enjoyable as it's had its challenges over the last 11 months since the pandemic has canceled college sports. Will you share a little bit about your experience navigating everything in LA County and California?
Sure. I think everyone has a different experience throughout the country based on the regions you live in. Ours is unique to us for sure, and one that we've been along for the ride, and we're listening to the experts both nationally within the state. And then also locally here in LA County, and then on campus. And it's been a nonstop kind of whirlwind, whether we were stopping, going, playing, not playing over the last couple of months. That we've looked, like a lot of other places, to others, not necessarily for answers, because there is no answer to a once-in-a-century pandemic, but for different ways to do things, and try to collaborate as much as we can to understand where we are. And it's still going on. So we're still learning and trying to find a light at the end of the tunnel and work our way out of this. And I think, collaboration, I feel like, has always been good, whether it's, nationally or through the conference or through people on campus and other organizations, like CABMA or NACTA, but it's been even more so and heightened at this time because we're all going through something new together, and it's always easier to do that than it is kind of fly solo in this environment.
Yeah, and speaking of, support through your conference, I've seen some reports from the Pac-12 about UCLA and USC really leaning on each other. How has that been?
It's been great. 90% of the time, we're always collaborating. I would say that 10% we don't is when we're competing against each other, and we all want to win very badly. It's a unique situation we have out here in Los Angeles, where we have two really high-achieving academic and athletic institutions competing at the highest level for the same thing. And a lot of their concerns during this time were the same as ours: is how do we safely compete, bring our student athletes back, let them do what they love, and facilitate that for them in this environment. So, whenever we've reached out to LA County, it's been in conjunction with them and our two campuses, quite honestly, not just in athletics, but campuses overall, and how to best address those concerns. So some of the things we've been successful in, and some of them not so successful, but I think our goals have always been aligned through that main focus of being able to bring our student athletes back, being able to compete, and let them do what they love, and make sure we're doing it safely.
Yeah, that's great. So you mentioned, other networks that you have, and working with your peers as you navigate this. How have your peers helped you through this time?
They've been unbelievable, without a doubt. And I think, everyone's gone into this with an open mindset, and not knowing what's coming, and knowing that we don't know, and not knowing what you don't know can be a good thing and a bad thing sometimes. So what's worked at other places may or may not work here. We're part of a large university system. We're one of 10 campuses, and have to follow along those guidelines as much as we do anybody else's. So we're leaning on peers in the UC system for certain things, and peers in the Pac-12 for certain things, and peers nationally for other things. And different people have different ideas based on where they are. So drawing on all of those experiences has helped us along the way, knowing that we have to do what's best for UCLA in Los Angeles on a UCLA campus. But it's been really good, more so than anything before. And I would have always said that it's been a pretty collaborative effort in this space.
Yeah. What's one piece of advice that you would share with others who are listening that has been helpful for you?
I think the biggest thing is know that you're not alone, right? And that you don't have to have all the answers, especially right now. I would say that probably all the time. Different think tanks that you've been a part of or helped us with, and also through CABMA. I think those relationships nationally always help you know that you're not alone, and that someone's always there to pick up the phone. And while our budgets may be different sizes and we may have different sports, we're all facing the same challenges. So I think that's one thing we've really emphasized more than ever over the last couple months.
That's great. Chris, you talked a little bit about player safety. Thinking along those lines, as you've had return to play, I know numerous sports got postponed from the fall into the spring. So that's obviously creating some, logistical issues as you navigate their new seasons on top of regular spring seasons. Can you talk a little bit about what return to play has looked like and navigating that within the context of LA County and California and the various regulations you have?
Sure. It's a whirlwind right now. We have 24 sports going right now of our 25. Wow. Football is the only one that's done. So everyone in the fall moved over to the spring. So we have a lot of challenges, and I think we were talking with our operations folks last week, and during the 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock hour, we have 11 teams either practicing or competing or going through some kind of activities, whether it's weights or something else. So it's a juggling act where all systems go right now. We've got all hands on deck. We're following obviously all the protocols of the conference in the city and the county and campus as best we can, or to the T, or we wouldn't be competing. We're working within those parameters. We've had staff. We're very fortunate to have an eager staff that have been helpful and kind of taking on different roles during this time, whether they're helping out with the testing aspects or the checking in. We've been fortunate that we've had some redeployment of staff, and folks have been great with that. You guys can see here that I'm still sitting at home, but we are able to get back on campus to help those that do need to compete during their seasons right now. So it's been a juggling act for sure, and we knew it would be a sprint to go from 0 to 1 to 24. And still deliver that high level of experience for our student athletes as best we can across the board, regardless of what the sport may be and the visibility of those programs. The workload is different. It's real, but we're enjoying it. We're never going to do it again, hopefully. So
hopefully not.
We'll have a roadmap if we do, but it's something that we're figuring out on the fly, and fortunate to be at a place where so many people want to help and contribute and lend a hand, even if it's not necessarily their main focus or lane that they're usually in.
Well, that's encouraging to hear. In addition to that sounding really daunting, managing that many sports simultaneously, it also sounds a little expensive as you try to manage that within the context also of reduced budgets and so forth. So can you say anything about how you manage all of that overtime, potentially all of those extra costs associated with these 24 sports simultaneous, while also still trying to keep a hold of the budget?
Yeah, it's been a challenge for sure. Without having the ability to have fans, our game day revenue opportunities are very limited, if not there at all. But through having less events in some cases, or just doing different things, the NCAA dead period, things along those lines, we've been able to save some dollars. And obviously we're trying to preserve everything that we do have from a staffing and also from a sports standpoint. So we're working as best we can to try and juggle all of those things. We're using our staff creatively. So if someone doesn't need to do something immediately that day and the project can wait, then we're bringing them in and they're going to help with mailroom activities or simply check in at a sporting event. So We're bare bones in a lot of cases, but knowing that we don't have fans we're able to do things a little bit differently. It's unfortunate, but kind of the scenario we're in. So we're just kind of, redeploying and reallocating some funds while trying to preserve, what dollars we do have as best we can.
Yeah. Well, speaking of fans there, are there some unique things that y'all are doing to try to really help with fan engagement during this period of time where they can't be in person for events? How are you keeping them hooked in?
Yeah, I think our marketing staff and our external staff has done a great job trying to, and I think you've seen these in different places too, whether it's, virtual chats with student athletes or virtual Zoom sessions with coaches. We had a virtual 5K, 10K earlier in the year. We tried to do a couple of virtual sellouts, if you will, and knowing that people aren't coming, but still be able to provide something for a ticket, if you will. Be it a poster, a T-shirt, or something along those lines to fans, to just try and generate interest. We've done, a couple second screen events during a lot of our home sporting events, so that people can stay engaged and just see a different side of the atmosphere. And that's on top of the typical engagement stuff we're doing, whether it's emails or just different events that way, so that people know that we need them, we care about them, we love them. And we're doing everything we can to keep their engagement with us to a level that's reasonable at this point. Not what we want, but we're certainly trying our best to keep that.
And within the department, has discussion turned now to looking forward to next athletic season, fall of this year, and what it might look like with return of fans and how to overcome some hesitancy barriers, not to mention, obviously, there's still a lot of unknowns about regulations. But is that a discussion you're having now on how to entice them to come back?
Yeah, I think a lot of what we've looked at last year or this past fall in preparation for what this could be, whether we're going to have 100% fans or 50% fans, 25% fans, we have a lot of those rough drafts ready to go. And it's just once we understand the environment we're going to be in at that time, we can enact those. We certainly have the contacts both on campus and in the county to know who we have those conversations with at the appropriate time. But I think we have our operational plans roughly written out, and then can execute those once we know exactly what the environment's going to look like. And then our staff is working on some different ideas that hopefully will entice people to come back, but we know, especially out here, given the environment that we're in, that there may be some hesitancy, and that may be not unique to us, but we want to be prepared, and we're going to try different things. We're going to try some new things, and those guys are never short on ideas. So we'll hopefully find the right answers to that equation when the time comes.
That's great.
So let's shift gears to name, image, and likeness, which is coming whether we're ready for it or not. Of course, COVID-19 threw a huge wrench into any kind of proactive planning in that area. But you're in a unique position in that you're in LA, which is the epicenter of people who earn a lot of money based on their name, image, or likeness. And while these regulations are still evolving, do you anticipate that it will be different at UCLA as compared to maybe your other peer institutions across the country just because of where you are?
We're going to hope so. I think in a good way. We're going to try and use, and I mean, this is an unbelievable opportunity. And however it shakes out, it's going to shake out. We haven't come forth with anything yet. We want to be deliberate and thoughtful on that process. But I think this is a great opportunity for us to certainly educate our young people. But also hopefully create a competitive advantage for us using those resources you did mention. So, we're working on a couple things, and they may be able to be enacted, they may not be able to, based on kind of how it all shakes out. But we really like to use that to our advantage, like we do anything else, to really create a great experience for our student athletes to understand, what this could be, and then to certainly to run with it and execute it once it's all fully up and running, and we've kind of ironed out our plan, knowing what the scope is.
Yeah, I'm, for one, a huge fan of some of your student athletes, especially some of your gymnasts. And what I love about the power of your student athletes is that they have potential to earn a lot. And while the country is kind of looking at, okay, football, men's basketball, there's going to be a handful of really high earners. There was a report that came out a while ago from Athletic Director U that listed the 25 most valuable college athletes ranked by endorsement potential. And in the top half of that were 4 UCLA student athletes. All were women, gymnasts and women's basketball players, and their earnings potential, according to ADU, ranged anywhere from 150,000 to north of 400,000 apiece. So as you're preparing for this, are there any unique approaches for different sports and including the Olympic sports as opposed to just your main revenue generating sports?
I think our approach would be holistic, just for the reasons you mentioned, is that we're very fortunate here to have some super high achieving student athletes, and some of them were before they even enrolled here, and many have aspirations to go beyond UCLA and do great things in their sport. We've had gold medalists enroll, right? So that they're following in gymnastics was unbelievable, and they're unbelievable student athletes. And same with some other sports. Certainly, we have 2. They were to be Olympians in softball this year, and still will be Olympians. That did come back, and we've had Olympians in some of our aquatic sports as well. Yeah, I think our approach would be holistic to give everybody that opportunity, because we do have so many high achieving student athletes that this is UCLA, and we know that's part of the deal here, and we want to make sure that everybody can have that same opportunity regardless of what they're choosing to do while they're here.
So Chris, Katie and I are on East Coast time, so that means that we've actually started happy hour here. Drinking a brew. I know it's a little bit different out west, and you aren't yet. But Katie, would you share what you're drinking?
Yeah, so I made my rounds to the Gainesville local breweries because we're not really venturing out much further than that. I picked up Swamp Head Brewery. It's called it's Doug's Dairy Twirl, which they have multiple varieties of this, but this one's a barrel-aged imperial mocha stout, and it's good, but it's really sweet. I think I'd rather have what you're drinking, Ken. Which will you share with us what that is?
Yeah, so I'm drinking, for those who've joined us before, First Magnitude is one of our favorite breweries here in town. They started the special delivery series as part of the pandemic and the lockdown time period. So this is number 4 that they've released over, every other month or so, maybe a little longer than that. They release a new one. It's outstanding. It's a hazy New England IPA, super yummy. So Chris, hopefully you'll be able to enjoy something later on when the workday ends.
Yeah, no, exactly. That would be my hope. One that I picked, and one unfortunately I haven't had the chance to have in a little bit, is and I don't have one handy because they don't distribute out here on the West Coast. But every time I am back home, my wife's family has a place out in Nantucket, Massachusetts, and I'm a big Cisco Brewery fan, so I will give them a little plug. Certainly their Whale's Tail IPA and their Dry Ladies a little wheat beer that they have, and that's certainly a nice summer indulgence for us when we get the chance to go back out there, and hopefully we'll be out there soon and can enjoy one.
Very nice.
Yeah, I would say the state of Massachusetts has some of the best beer in the country, and I know Ken would disagree. He likes California beer too, but I agree with you, Chris.
I do feel bad because there are so many good ones out here, but I had to. You said pick one, so this was my starting point.
There you go.
Yeah.
Good.
Yep. Well, thank you, Chris, so much for sharing with us today. I know your peers are going to get a lot out of today's show. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in as we continue to advocate for the financial voices in college athletics to be heard. You can visit our website, jmco.com, and you can follow us on social media as the collegiate athletic landscape continues to evolve. Cheers.